Good morning. It's the 8th of July and I'm still in the Bay Area. So I'll be here for the whole week, San Jose area in California. So yesterday was a relaxing day and a day where we just spent time with friends, amazing food. Here, I'll show you some of the food. And Jana's been feeding me so well, so well since I've been here that I'm probably going to put on about 20 pounds, which I can't afford to do. But, you know, you got to do what you got to do when you're visiting friends that make amazing food. The only reading I've been doing while I've been here is Tortilla Flat by John Steinbeck, because on Tuesday with my Aunt Judy, I'm going to the John Steinbeck house. We're also going to go wander around Monterey and stuff. I wanted to read one of his short stories before we went there, and so I had to start that. So I'm currently, it's 100 pages of this book, Tortilla Flat, and I'm currently 24 pages in. And it's a story about these guys, and they live in Monterey, and they're unhoused. They have loved living their lives. They live very relaxed lives. And if you've ever read Cannery Row, it's like Mac and the Boys. These guys live a much similar life, but they're what they call paisanos, which in that area were like combination of Spanish, Mexican, Latino, and white. I'm not sure if that is culturally accurate. I'd have to do some research into that. But that's what Steinbeck terms this group of people that live in Monterey. And they have a very specific, unique culture, and they live in this area called Tortilla Flat, which is a part, or was a part, of Monterey. So then he's basically just talking about them first living their life fairly happily as unhoused people. But then all of a sudden, Danny, the main guy, ends up inheriting 2 houses from his grandfather. So he's like, all of a sudden, I have so much responsibility. And like Mac and the Boys, it's very similar to Mac and the Boys. So if you liked that aspect of Cannery Row, you'd probably like this one as well. He moves into these 2 houses and he invites his friend to rent from him. But of course, they are still living without working or anything. So they're just basically living the same exact life, but now they have a house to live in and 2 houses to live in. He's like, I gotta make money somehow. Ooh, I'll ask my friend Pilon if he will rent the other house for $15 a month. Perfect. And Pilon's like, yeah, of course I will. Danny's like, well, he probably won't actually ask Pilon for the money. And Pilon's like, well, Danny will probably never ask me for the money. But then till Danny does ask for the money, and then Pilon's, oh my gosh, what am I going to do to make money? And he meets up with one of his friends. He's like, would you like to come rent part of my house with me and pay $15? And his friend's like, sure, yeah, I'll come and live there and pay $15 rent. That sounds perfect. And it's the same situation where he's not going to really expect $15 and they're not going to give $15. But the second somebody needs $15, all of a sudden they're like, well, what are we going to do now? I know what we can do. We can invite Jesus Maria into our house. Oh, okay, let's do that. This is definitely John Steinbeck's style. And this perspective from a poor person. He loved to look at not just working class men, but people who other people would consider the dregs of society, and give them philosophy and give them all this incredible nature that they could use, because they're such beautiful people to the best of their abilities, but it could also mean that they use it for their downfall. And so these characters would wax poetic or use poems when they're talking to each other because they're so philosophical. But then they would make these horrible decisions where they're basically like, we could do this, or I could go buy a jug of wine. And so, there's a lot of aspects of this. This was written okay, so I just had breakfast and it was delicious, and we're getting ready to head to the beach. But I wanted to finish out what I was saying about Tortilla Flat. It was written in 1935, so it's going to have terminology and some dialogue that is both stereotypical and you know, problematic, outdated, what you would expect from something that was written in 1935. So just know that going into this, or going into any, gosh, it feels like anything that was written before 2000. I mean, that's a bit general, but it just feels that way sometimes. But yeah, just know Tortilla Flat has quite a bit of stereotypes of the kind of people that were living in Monterey at the time. And at times they feel a little excessive, but I wasn't there in 1930s, so I can't tell you whether or not they were really excessive. Okay, so Mom and I got caught up on the comfort book, and we are currently on page 221. So getting close to finishing this one up. And there were a couple of little wisdoms I wanted to share. The first one, it's hot. I had to turn the fan off, and I'm like, this one's a short one. Forgiveness. Forgiving other people is great practice for forgiving yourself when the time comes. I think that one is really, like, and I thought about it some more, that's a hard thing to do. But it's great practice by forgiving other people. I thought that was really clever. That was a clever one. And then this one is really important for me, so maybe this will be important for you too. This is kind of a longer one. Resting is doing. You don't need to be busy. You don't need to justify your existence in terms of productivity. Rest is an essential part of survival, an essential part of us, an essential part of being the humans that we are. When a dog lies in the sun, I imagine it does it without guilt, because as far as I can tell, dogs seem more in tune with their own needs. As I grow older, I think that resting might actually be the main point of life. To sit down passively inside or outside and merely absorb things, the tick of a clock, a cloud passing by, the distant hum of traffic, a bird singing, can feel like an end in itself. It can actually feel and be more meaningful than a lot of the stuff we're conditioned to see as productive. Just as we need pauses between notes for music to sound good, just as we need punctuation in a sentence for it to be coherent, we should see rest and reflection and passivity, and even sitting on the sofa, as an intrinsic and essential part of life that is needed for the whole to make sense. I really like that one because I just feel like I have a hard time with that. I'm getting better at it, but like the idea of resting, I tend to feel like if I'm resting, I start getting like almost depressed or almost low and feeling like I'm lethargic and I'm down. And the reality is I'm just not doing something with my time, and I'm so used to doing something with my time and feeling like I have so little time, so I have to make the most of it, that when I actually do just take the time and rest, I feel even subconsciously guilty of it or subconsciously unwell. And that is something that when I first read this one, I was almost like getting choked up because I'm like, wow, I really do have an issue with that. So it was a good one for me. Next point of business. I have 2 activities to fill my bingo board with, and it means that I'm gonna get a bingo, which I'm super excited about. I'm finally gonna get to pick a reward because I did my fruit. Remember, I got the fruit container with the tahini and the lime juice and the salt, and it was amazing, and that counted for fruit. And I've been eating a ton of fruit while I've been here at Jan's house. She has so much fresh fruit. And of course, I forget how great the fruit is here in California. It's so good. I don't hate fruit, but I just don't choose fruit. But I've been eating a lot of fruit. And then today we did a trip specifically to the beach. We drove out to go to Gail's Bakery and then drive along the beach. We stopped in Capitola. I walked around in the sand. Then we drove along the coast up to Santa Cruz. It was a beach day, and that's the whole point of the activities on here, is to do summery activities, and we made a whole day of it, and it was lovely. So I get to mark this one, and that means I get a bingo. Okay, so got the fruit one. Sorry. And then we had this amazing cantaloupe, and I'm not typically a huge melon fan, but this cantaloupe was so fresh and it was so delicious. I've been eating a lot of cantaloupe the last couple of days, and I've been really, really happy. So look at me becoming a fruit eater. Okay, and then beach. It was a beautiful day at the beach, not too hot, which was nice. And there's my first bingo. I'm very excited, and I'm close to getting one this way. And I'm actually gonna change what I'm doing for reading so that I will get one very soon. Now it's time to pick my reward. I'm very excited. Okay, so I've got quite a few in here, over 40, I think, possibilities. And let's see what the first one is. What's my first reward? Okay, I'm gonna pick this one. What does it say? A food tasting. Oh, that should be easy on the trip. So that'll be fun. I've got to find a place somewhere on this trip where they have like food samples and stuff like that. Oh, that's gonna be great. That's gonna be great. Okay, I totally can do this one. So anywhere I end up or need to seek out some place where they have a lot of tastings and stuff like that and go try out wines or oils or cheeses or whatever. But this is something I'm going to actively look for so that I can do a food tasting somewhere and get to enjoy that, because I absolutely love doing food tastings at different places and just trying. I like little tastes of everything. So this is a great reward, and I couldn't think of a better time to do it than on a trip like this. All right, it is evening and it is time for bed. I'm going to read a little bit more of Tortilla Flat before I fall asleep, but I did finish my July 6th vlog, and then I watched a cooking competition with Jan, so that was fun to see who won. And I think the right person won. Tomorrow's the day with my Aunt Judy, and we're going to the John Steinbeck house and having lunch there. And then it's just a Monterey day. I don't yet know what we're gonna be doing. Then I'm gonna have dinner at my Aunt Jackie's house. So I don't know that I'm gonna vlog because I'm not reading much right now. And so I don't have a lot of bookish updates. Of course, going to Steinbeck's house, that's bookish because he's a famous author. So we'll see, we'll see. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe so you can see what happens this week while I'm here in South Bay, San Jose area, Silicon Valley, having a great time in my hometown. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you later.